Julian Laurent joining us now to talk more about this. So the news there for the Chelsea fans, as you heard, is that Cole Palmer is fit and ready to play and that he can play alongside Estevao. On the Cole Palmer being fit, guys, would you start him?
No, he might be fit from the injury, but I don't think he's match fit yet, unless he's had lots of games behind closed doors. Chelsea have played well in the last couple of games. It's a massive game for him. If he starts off and doesn't perform particularly well because he's not fully fit and can't adjust to the pace of the game, that would be a blow to him. So if I was the manager, I'd be looking to bring him on after about 60 minutes, depending on how the game's going.
You're nodding along there, Shaq?
Yeah, I fully agree. Listen, 2 months out is a long time in this game in terms of bringing a player back in and throwing him in at the deep end to start with. As good a player as Cole Palmer may be, logic suggests, as Robbo said, start him on the bench. If things go easy or things are ease up later on, you could bring him on if it's needed, whatever it may be, but no way you start it.
Which version of Chelsea would scare you most, Jules?
Oh, the one with Cole Palmer, but again, the one with a fully fit, match-fit Cole Palmer, not really the one that we have. He hasn't played since September. I agree with the boys. And also, if there's one game where you really have to be match-fit and at your best physically to play against the team, it's Arsenal, because you know the intensity, you know the physicality that they're going to bring into this game, even away at Stamford Bridge. So if Palmer is not really match fit, there's no. It's not that there's no point because he's still Chelsea's best player, but like Robbo said, it's much better if you bring him on, and they're going to build these minutes anyway. You can't just. This is the Premier League. It's not Sunday morning football. You can't just arrive after 2 months without playing football and play at this kind of level against the best team in Europe. So it's natural that he would be on the bench and then maybe come on, otherwise he would play the next game.
Jules, this is your strongest 11 right now, considering the fact that Cole Palmer is just coming back. This is what you put together for Chelsea.
Yeah, because I want to see Estevao in there. I think he deserves to start even against Arsenal. He played really well against Barcelona on Tuesday night in the Champions League. That would mean moving Neto on the other side, where it's not obviously the best wing for Neto. He's better on the right-hand side. He's left-footed like Estevao. But I think he can do a really good job with Cucurella on that left-hand side. Joao Pedro as the 9 ahead of Neto, who played against Barcelona, or the lap. Enzo Fernandez cannot play deeper, not against a team like Arsenal. He's not mobile enough. He's not defensive-minded enough. So he will play in that 10 where Palmer would play if Palmer was started. And then Reece James, because Lavia is injured again. And Reece James is what Maresca has of closer to be able to play in that defensive position in a double pivot with Caicedo. And I think the back four picks itself, really.
What do you think of that 11?
It's the best 11 they could put out against Arsenal. And Jules is absolutely right. Against Arsenal, who play with intensity, play with great strength, great physicality. The pace of the game is going to be great. I don't think Fernandez can play as that holding midfield player alongside Caicedo, who's been excellent. He's going to be a key player for them. And Reece James coming in from, he did it quite well when he was actually playing at right back and then would come into midfield. Now he's playing as a midfield player all the time, and I think he does the job well. You could question maybe one or two of the centre halves. They've got 3 or 4 centre halves, are all very similar in sort of performance level. But that's probably the best team. And Neto is a dangerous player out on that left-hand side.
Are we seeing a competitive matchup here?
As competitive as you can get from Chelsea, and especially kind of given the game against Barcelona that Jules referenced. Okay, Neto drops back and goes wide as Joao Pedro comes in as the out-and-out striker. But given that performance, given how good that lineup worked for Enzo Maresca, no need to tinker any more than that, and bringing Joao Pedro in and adjusting Neto to suit. I think, it makes perfect sense.
We're just going to take a look at the standings, because obviously we know how strong Arsenal have been recently, at the top of the table in the Premier League as it stands. If they win, they'd be at least 7 points clear of Manchester City, 9 points clear of Chelsea, and at least 11 points clear of Liverpool as well. The title race would be over, wouldn't it, Jules? You've got to say so then.
Well, you can't win the title at the end of November or the beginning of December, but it will start to be a very significant gap, to be fair. And obviously anything can happen later in the season. If Arsenal go find the Champions League, for example, and we'll have to play huge games at the weekend, then in midweek, then at the weekend again, this can take a lot out of you. But if by the start of December they're already 7 clear, 9 clear, and even more on Liverpool, who are Chelsea, City and Liverpool will be the 3 biggest challengers that they would have this season, really, then I think it's obviously a huge boost for them and a huge step towards the title, but it would not be decided in December.
What do you say?
Well, I said on the show, I think last week, at the moment, I'm 100% sure that Arsenal will win the title because they are playing very well. I can't see any of the other sides being consistent enough to cause them a problem. They've got a big squad that can come in when, and Jules just said it, when they're playing in the Champions League and playing in the FA Cup and lots of big games. They've got a big enough squad now to rotate that and still be a very good side. Arsenal have got it all going at the moment.
What does the algorithm say?
The algorithm says it's Arsenal's all the way. Listen, and I get Jules' point. It's late November, going into early December, and conventional wisdom says no title is decided then. But it'll take a very brave or very stupid man to put a bet on anybody else other than Arsenal at this point to win the title. So that being said, right now, you can only see it going one way unless something extraordinary happens back end of the season. I'm not the one putting a bet on anybody else.
All right, so nobody's too much going against Arsenal. Jules keeping a level head here. We're about to put him to the test, though, because here are the predictions. It's pretty much across the board. Everybody's saying Arsenal will win this one, except for Shock Frank Leboeuf. He's not here to explain himself, although we don't need him to. We all know why he's picked Chelsea there. But Jules, this is a bit of a litmus test for you because yesterday on the show we reported Joshua Kimmich saying that PSG are better than Arsenal. So now we're going to ask you to pick between two teams you're very fond of, PSG or Arsenal. Who's better?
I mean, right now, I love Joshua Kimmich, but right now, Arsenal are the better team, the best team in Europe. There's just no doubt. PSG are nowhere near the level that they were in the second half of last season when they were better than anybody else. I think he said that he preferred the style of football that PSG are playing, which is fine. We said on the show before, and it's no disrespect to Arsenal or not taking anything away from them, but they don't play the most sexy football in Europe right now. As we said, it's very powerful, it's very efficient in the two boxes, it's very solid, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of intensity, but it's not the most free-flowing football, for example. So I can see where Kimmich is coming from, although he also said that all they do is long balls. If you look at Wednesday night's game, Bayern Munich had more long balls in that game than Arsenal. So maybe Kimmich was a little bit better to have lost that game. But I can see where he's coming from. I mean, Mikel Arteta would be very happy to win the title, even if his team doesn't play that great.
There's no power rankings this week. They had a Thanksgiving break. However, Shaq, if there had been power rankings this week, who would have been ahead of who?
Arsenal at top. Arsenal at top. Given everything we've seen from them, was it 13 wins in their last 14, the dismantling of Bayern Munich, despite what Joshua Kimmich says, I thought that was a very good performance. Now, to Kimmich's point, you could maybe make the argument that PSG right now are better than PSG were this time last year. We saw what they did in the second half of the season and how that all came together. But that being said, right now, Arsenal is still better than the version of PSG right now. They know what they're doing. They're efficient at what they do. They won't get sucked into the trap of trying to pass their way out of pressure, to Kimmich's point about the balls going over the top. If you press high up, they are more than comfortable in going over the top of that pressure. And that's credit to Arsenal. That's credit to Arteta and how he sets his teams up, that they can play in any way up against any kind of opponent. They're just that good or that efficient right now.
Craig brought up yesterday the experience factor here, though, and that going in PSG's favour right now.
Yes, that's the only thing I can see going in PSG's favour because they are going to get better. I think Jules said they're not playing at their very best as they were last year. But the thing about Arsenal is that, and the best teams are always able to do this. No matter what sort of game it's going to be, we're ready for it. If you want to fight, we'll have a fight and we'll out-scrap you, we'll out-battle you. If you want it to be a game of intensity, we'll do that as well. If we have to go long, we'll go long and we'll win the knockdowns and play from there. If it's a game where there's not too many chances and it comes to set pieces, we'll win that battle as well. So at the moment, Arsenal are the best team. At the moment, Arsenal are the best team. But they do play a different style of football to PSG, who can pass you off the field, have got great movement, great individual quality. But what I've seen in the Champions League so far, and as Jules said, PSG haven't quite been at their very best.
I will say, I'll quote Frank Leboeuf here. Frank always talks about you have to hit the post before it goes in first. Now, Arsenal sitting in the league, I've hit the post 3 times now. Maybe this is the year that it comes good for them, but they still haven't gotten to that final and understand and get to experience that environment and the pressure that comes with it. Whereas so many of Europe's other big boys can boast as much. Not Arsenal. And you just wonder, as good as they are, and again, as good as that performance was, as good as they look right now, will that experience be the deciding factor on the final day, should they get there?